times men begged for the child on paternity court.
I have been in tears for the last 2 years trying to meet my daughter, and she has never let me once talk to her or see her.
Mr. Carroll, you are her father.
Despite 20 years of fatherhood, his daughter denies that her alleged father is her daddy.
Ms. Wade, you say you were always told by your mother that Mr. McGreer is your dad, but claim that as a child you discovered information which leads you to believe another man is your father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
McGreer started off with an apology to his daughter.
I missed a lot of her life. You know, that really bothered me the same way that I couldn't be in her life like I really needed to be.
And I can see you are very angry about that, Ms. Wade.
Yes, Your Honor, I am. Well, you know, there would be times where I would ask for him and he was nowhere to be found.
Things weren't easy for Miss Wade either, and she told the court her side of the story.
I kind of sort of remember me and my mom took a trip to New York where that's where he was, and I met his mother and some of my other siblings there. After that, we came back home. I didn't see Mr. McGreer until like I was like 11, 12.
Another 6, 7 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
So Judge Lake asked her the real reason she was denying paternity.
Are you feeling so hurt that you just don't want him to be your father because he's hurt you so much? Or do you truly believe he may not be your biological father?
I feel like it's both.
All right.
Like, there was times, Your Honor, when Mia was sent to me by her mom to be there for her when she came to stay with me for them couple of weeks.
After listening to the father and daughter, it was time for the mother's testimony.
So, Ms. Wade, what was your relationship like with Mr. McGreer?
The relationship with Mr. McGreer, it was a summer affair. We were together for a couple of months. Once we split up, it was about a week or two later, I started dating another guy, and I didn't find out until I was approximately 3.5 months pregnant.
While the men at the podium never had any doubts about paternity.
When you heard about the baby, did you have any doubts that she was your biological daughter?
No, I didn't have any doubts. She wasn't promiscuous like that. When she's with one person, she's with one person. And I had to leave because, like, really have a woman in your life that really cared for you. But I couldn't have been the man because my lifestyle wouldn't, allow me to be the man that I needed to be, or a father as a family.
He even admitted fault on his part like this.
A couple of months, I couldn't treat her like a kid. I couldn't raise her. She was already grown. But all I could do is be there for her, just recognize that I'm here. We cried together. I cried with her and let her know how I felt to miss the day, and I hope she forgive me. I understand somebody not having their mom and dad there, and then like she's saying in and out the life, so that's a difference.
Nonetheless, this is why Miss Wade chose another man over Mr. McGreer.
He would just come around and speak to me, give me a little change, like pocket full of change. He said that he could be my father, and that's when he automatically introduced me to like 6 of his other kids. After that, I spent more time with them. He's been taking care of me ever since that age. He has been there for my prom days. He spent time with me and his other children. He took us to the zoo. He spent quality time.
And her story was confirmed by her mother.
Do you know the gentleman she's talking about, Ms. Wade?
That's the guy I tried to have a relationship with after Mr. McGreer and I split up. When I told Mr. McGreer, I told him about the other guy, and he's been claiming to be Miss Wade's father since before she was actually born. He's always said, that's my daughter, I believe my daughter, and I've always told him, no, she's not. No, she's not.
So you told him the truth, but you said, I don't believe this is true.
So it was time for a 20-year-old Big Dipper.
In the case of McGreer versus Wade, when it comes to 20-year-old Amia Wade, it has been determined by this court. Mr. McGreer, you are not the father.
The father crying for his daughter is one of the most dreadful things to watch, and this episode began on that note.
Oh, it mean an awful lot because it's been many years that done with, and I know I love Lily. I always try to embed it in her that she my daughter. Can't nobody tell me otherwise. This is my daughter.
All of these years, you never had doubt.
No, and I never, and truthfully, I've never been emotional like this either. So it really means a lot for me to find out now that Lily is my daughter.
But a one-night stand was getting in the way of this paternity.
You say you had a one-night stand and you're so sure that this one-night stand is your daughter's father. Why are you so certain?
With Jesse, we were basically broken up, and then I end up going to her father and saying that I needed someone to talk to, so me and him end up having sex. And I knew knew that it was
The one-night stand.
the hairdresser.
Mr. Carroll refused to go along with the defendant's story.
He never told me that.
Yes, I did.
You never told me that.
Yes, I did. I
Never
told
me
you that I am pregnant by someone else, and you didn't want to believe it. Maybe it hurted you because I had sex with someone else, but I've told you that I was not pregnant by you. Yes, I did.
Never did she tell me that.
While the young Lily had this recollection about the confusing situation.
One day, and it was a discussion about me not being his daughter, and you know.
In front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Say,
What do
Lily.
you remember hearing?
I mean, I just recalled that it was just arguments.
And then what do you remember me saying to you at the end, when it's all said and done, what did I say?
He always has stated to me that he's my dad.
That's
so,
right.
you know.
I
he
don't
always
deny
said
that. He always did say.
Even the birth certificate had his name on it.
You signed this birth certificate
Right.
because when you're in the hospital, you don't have any doubt.
None. Now, she did tell me that she had an affair with the hairdresser down in our relationship, but 5
Oh,
years...
I told you I was pregnant by the hairdresser.
No, never did you.
This is not your baby I'm carrying.
Okay,
you
listen.
don't know what you're talking about. I always told you I'm not carrying your baby. I told you that before I had her.
Listen.
So, was the plaintiff ignoring all the information given by his woman?
Mr. Carroll, were you just not wanting to hear this?
Well, I mean...
Or were you?
No, because like I said, everything that she's saying, as far as what she's saying to me now, never was like that.
That's
She was
not
my
true.
girlfriend.
It was
Like I
a
said, at
denial
that time-
because he couldn't believe that little Tina had another baby by somebody else.
She never said that.
Nonetheless, he had stepped up after, right from the beginning.
After she was born, in the early parts of her life, you were there as her father.
I was there. I was
That's
there.
all
for her.
you was
I was
there.
there. She was my daughter. She was around me. I did a lot. I was come from the street life, so.
Or are you saying that he's not the father because he's really not the biological father in your mind?
He's not the father of my child right here.
Next, a witness was brought to the stand who shared this with the court.
Your Honor, Shalithia is not his daughter. And the only way I would know, because I came into the situation after the 5-year period, somewhere in there, which was I never would say anything like that to Shalithia.
But you
Why?
did.
Because I
She
have
did.
my own children.
She
I'm
did.
the one brought us here today because I think she should know.
Yeah, it's about time we end Lily's confusion.
In the case of Carroll versus Goggins, when it comes to 26-year-old Shalithia Carroll, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Carroll, you are her father.
Nothing is more painful than not being able to be with your children. And Mr. Walker is in court trying to change that.
Mr. Walker, you claim the defendant led you to believe you fathered her son, Kamani, for an entire year, but just 6 months ago told you you are not the father and refuses to let you see him. You are here to prove that Kamani is your biological son. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss DeVos, on the other hand, was very clear about fault at her side.
Ms. DeVos, he hasn't seen your son in 6 months?
The reason why you haven't seen my son in 6 months is because he is not the father. I regret letting him sign the birth certificate. I just feel, I feel bad because I let him do it, but I just wanted to get the truth out today and just figure out he's not the father so I can get him off the birth certificate.
So, this is how their relationship started.
We met there, we became friends, and when I went away to school, we had lost touch or whatever, and then I came back, I don't know, somehow we got back in contact, and I was like over his house every day. It was like a getaway. We wasn't in a relationship, but it was a situation like we was together.
And you were intimate?
Yes,
Did
Your
you
Honor.
use protection?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
But Mommy also thought he was the father.
Did you tell Mr. Walker he was your child's biological father?
Yes, but at the time, I thought he was the father. He was the one I was with when the doctor actually, when I took the pregnancy test and then I got it confirmed by the doctor, he was the person I was with at the time.
Who were you with then?
I was with him and someone else.
Next came the swindling revelation.
That's the person you believe is Kamani's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Walker, take me to the point when you find out she's pregnant. What do you do?
When I find out that she's pregnant, I really just start to prepare myself mentally, and I also was just looking for work. I had 2 jobs at the time. I was really trying to just prepare myself for everything.
So
I know what
you-
it means to have a child. I didn't really have a dad growing up, and I grew up in the system, and I don't know. I like babies.
Oh, I feel real bad for the guy.
You were excited about being a father to a child, the kind of father you did not have.
Yes, Your Honor.
So throughout the pregnancy, were you there for her?
Yes, we were always living together the whole time.
Even when Kamani was born, you were living together?
Yes.
What do you have there?
I actually have the birth certificate that I signed when he was first born.
This is the birth certificate. You are listed as father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Willingly and voluntarily.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, bringing a new life into the world is hard for both sides.
I just never wanted to tell him that it wasn't his because I knew the situation he'd been through and it was just hard. When he stepped up to being here, got 2 jobs and I couldn't work when I was pregnant because he was a big baby. I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't really do nothing. Okay, he's doing the right thing and maybe he might be the father. I don't know.
This mother was also going through a tough time. Still, it doesn't give her a pass for treating others this way.
He been here all this long, but I can't turn back now, not to tell him that he's not the father. He been here the whole pregnancy, he was there, so I'm like, it's too late.
Did you tell that man you were pregnant or that the baby was born and he could potentially be the father as well?
Yes, Your Honor. His response was like, no other. It was just, okay, if it's mine, I'll take care of it.
And this is how another potential father dropped a bomb on Mr. Walker.
You say you kicked me out with damn near no place to go. You wasn't thinking about our son or anything. Ms. DeVos, you write back, he's not your son. Then you respond, Mr. Walker, so as long as I'm on the birth certificate, I'm not going anywhere. You ruined my whole life. And Ms. DeVos, you respond, you're not his father. You ruined your own life. You cold-blooded.
Which pushed the judge to the edge.
You sitting up here acting like Satan's sidekick in here talking about you ruined your own life. I didn't have nothing about it. Nobody told you to stay. What's going on? He could have left a baby that he thought was his biological child. He could have repeated a cycle that has affected him and you, and that's why both of you all connected on that level. Did you ever do a paternity test with the other man?
No.
So now, it was time for the only solution.
In the case of Walker versus DeVos, as it pertains to 14-month-old Kamani DeVos Walker, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Walker, you are not the father.
Parenting can act as a kick force in many people's lives, and that vigor has brought Mr. Webb to paternity court.
You claim the defendant, Mrs. Forrest, left you for dead only to find out once you got out of a coma that she was pregnant and that the baby could be yours or her husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Forrest, you and your husband are here today desperate to put an end to this drama. You say you have no doubt your daughter's biological father is your husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
However, the defendants believe that Mr. Webb's claims a total sham.
What are your intentions today if the DNA determines that you are the biological father?
My intentions are to fight for custody rights if she is my daughter.
Well, that's my daughter, and you ain't getting her.
Mrs. Forrest testified this to the court.
How did you get yourself in this triangle?
My husband got in some trouble and I ended up meeting Mr. Webb through one of my friends. We hit it off. I ended up leaving Mr. Forrest for Mr. Webb.
So you began a sexual relationship?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you using protection at the time?
No, Your Honor.
But this is how things had really gotten down.
Yes, we was in love. I was on life support.
That's not how it happened.
As soon as I got out the hospital, I had got a phone call saying that she was pregnant. But on my way to Illinois with my dad, she had called me and told me that it was a possibility that Elena was my child.
Mrs. Forrest was a serial cheater who had mercy for no one.
Were you sleeping with anyone else besides Mr. Webb and your husband?
No, Your Honor.
Not during that time?
That's a lie,
But when
Your
you
Honor.
called Mr. Webb and said, I'm pregnant, you did say, and there's a possibility.
Which I didn't get back to with Mr. Forrest until after Travis had done left, or Mr. Webb has done left.
I have a letter from my mom where I was on life support.
Neither of the men was ready to back down from the fatherhood.
I was there with her at the doctor's office, so it was middle of September when she found out.
It was in August whenever she found out that she was pregnant.
No, it was not.
There are facts kept foggy for sure. But that is why we're in paternity court.
What makes you stand in court today? Your husband is definitely the father.
I have counted back the times from when she was born, 9 months back, and it takes it to the week that I was only sleeping with him. Me and Mr. Webb were already over with.
And what happened next made our hearts pour out for the poor plaintiff.
I have been in tears for the last 2 years trying to meet my daughter, and she has never let me once talk to her or see her.
When I talked to him and
have
told him
had
I was
to create
pregnant.
a fake Facebook account just to see pictures of Elena.
Next came the real motive of the mother behind the whole denial.
I have cared for her for 2 years. He's wanted to see her, but he hasn't wanted to do nothing
This DNA test proves that I am Elena's father. I will fight for my full custody rights.
This is my child, and I will fight you for custody. Not yours, and I will fight you for full custody.
There's no way that he's getting full custody of my child.
I will fight.
No.
We all know how Judge Lake takes down folks running from the true dilemma.
And I see men that say, well, I don't know if it's my child, Your Honor, so I'm not showing up at a hospital. I'm not coming by to see this baby. I don't even want to hold the baby. I don't even want to buy the baby a bottle because I don't know if it's mine. And quite frankly, I have to say that a part of me has to honor what they're thinking and their opinion and the way they feel because they don't have certainty.
There's only one thing that could end Webb's misery, and it was time for that.
It has been determined by this court that her biological father is Mr. Webb.
Fling leading to childbirth is nothing unusual, right? Well, the twist is that mommy wants nothing to do with the baby daddy.
Miss Stanley, you have dragged your former fling, Mr. Williams, to court for a paternity test to prove he did not father your 3-year-old son, Ryan Alexander.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Williams, you say baby Ryan Alexander is the most important person in your life. She has a new man in her life and doesn't want you around. Is that true?
That's correct.
This is why Miss Stanley was denying the man paternity rights.
I never loved him. It was a mistake.
How did you see the relationship, Mr. Williams?
She had us planned out getting married. She had us planned out get the cakes. She had us planned out get I was taking her kids back and forth to school almost every day. I've done everything for her and them kids.
Is that true, Miss Stanley?
No, Your Honor, it is not.
But the defendants had evidence to prove otherwise.
This is a message, a text message from Miss Stanley that says, did you hear that me and Chris is gonna get married? Is this a message you sent?
No, Your Honor, it is not.
Oh, well then let's pull up my Facebook page and let her
well then let's do that.
tell you right now.
I don't care.
If that was his son,
just like him out butt.
Miss Combs also told this to the court.
She's always told me since the boy was born that it was his. There was not a question that he belonged to somebody else. I have another Facebook thing that she had texted me saying that he was the good father.
This is another message you say Miss Stanley sent you. He is really good with my kids and Ryan loves his daddy.
Correct.
Miss Stanley denied all of the accusations.
Miss Stanley, did you ever tell Mr. Williams that he is Ryan Alexander's father? Did you ever say that?
No, Your Honor, I did not. He is very, very excessive with me. He follows me everywhere. If I'm at a grocery store, he would follow me with me not even letting him have the knowledge of him knowing where I was at.
However, a real bomb was yet to be dropped.
It's kind of hard to let you know anything, Mr. Williams, whenever I was put under sedation. I was put under sedation while he's holding our son in his arms.
You just said while he's holding our son in his arms.
Yeah.
So are you saying now that Ryan Alexander is?
No, he is my son.
Okay, that does not sound very convincing.
Do you think he's the father?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Why do you believe that?
I had slept with him more than I slept with Mr. Williams.
You're a straight low-down liar.
You were more consistent with him in terms of a sexual relationship. But you do know it just takes once.
Yes, Your Honor, I did know that.
After that statement came another lie.
Well, it don't mean that he might not have been by himself, but he's watching your kids and your son while you was out running
He never
the
watched.
streets.
He never
Yes, he did.
watched. No, he did not.
Your Honor, excuse me.
So you're saying he didn't watch your children either?
Yes,
Your
I
Honor, he did not.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Next, the current boyfriend was questioned.
I ain't never heard nothing about that, but when the first 3 months we was together, I was at a store, he come by, see if he can go see Ryan. I was like, well, okay, well, I didn't know nothing about this, all right? So I said, yeah, go ahead. And I buy that kid clothes, I buy him diapers, I buy him wipes. I've been doing it for 2 years. I've learned him how to swim. Biological mind, I've been raising that kid. That kid's mine, I don't care.
You feel like that's your son?
Yeah.
So there's a clear reason for denial.
How has this affected you?
And it affected me a lot. Every time I try to ask, like, do they even, get to keep him? Or even get to come over and spend time with him? It's always the answer, no, you can't be around him.
I understand that, and I do not mind for that.
Okay.
I want it to be supervised if he is to have any contact with my son.
Okay.
Now, let's wrap it up.
In the case of Stanley versus Williams, when it comes to 3-year-old Ryan Alexander Stanley, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Williams,
You are not his father.